Why do you want them to listen to your podcast?
So that when they think about starting a business, they've got the content that is pointing them in the right direction.
That is such a valuable piece of advice there.
The change in mindset makes a massive difference.
Welcome to Aussie Lawn Stars.
Brad, welcome to the dungeon. How are you doing today?
Very good. Thank you for having me.
Now, that's Brad Hill, isn't it?
Brad Hill, yes.
I got to get the names right, and the Hill name. My wife's family is the Hill family, so it's I know too many people with the last name Hill.
It's not uncommon.
Yes, it's for sure. But something that is uncommon, you're in a different country to me.
It seems like that. I think we get segregated a bit over here in the West.
I believe your emperor has tried to segregate West Australia several times and make it a separate country.
I think it's the ex-emperor. He's not in the position anymore.
Oh, well, I think even not just McGowan, but I think it's happened like over the last 100 years multiple times.
Yeah, you hear about it, but it is quite funny. You do feel like you're a million miles away over here, but
yeah, I was just talking to a friend before I drove home, and his parents are from WA, so he's like, it's funny, people who are born in WA, they just think that WA is better than everywhere else.
Oh, wouldn't say that. We do have very good weather, I'll give you that.
We should come back and talk about the weather a bit later on, but we need to give people insight into who you are first. And I think that the WA weather, or the desert as it might be, is an interesting part we'll come back to.
Yeah, sure.
So, Brad, judging by looks, now that I've got you in the dungeon, you look like you're younger than me, I'm guessing. I'm 47. I don't see too many grey hairs there. But
no, they're coming through. I've got 3 kids under 7, so that's they're making them come out a lot quicker. But no, I'm 39.
39, yeah. Well, my kids are all older than yours. My youngest is 15, so
right.
There you go.
I am getting greyer, so
yeah.
I did well with the lighting.
or the camera quality's just not quite yet. So the key point there is you are 39. You are in business. How long have you been in business?
Just almost to the day. I've just ticked over 11 years.
Okay, so not much different to me. I've done 14, but 11 years would put you back to 28, which means prior to being in business, you must have had a job.
I did. I actually worked in a family business for about 4.5 years. So my dad had an electrical wholesale business.
Okay, yeah.
Over here in WA, and me and my 2 brothers both worked with him. So
nice.
That was sort of I think I started that when I was 23. So I spent a bit of time traveling and just doing a few sales jobs before that. I think, sales has always been in my family with my dad and things like that. And I think his sort of dream was to have all his sons in his business. So, we got there. I was the last one in out of my 2 brothers. I'm the middle child, and did that for 4.5 years. So I think that's where I developed the passion for running my own business.
Yeah, fair enough. It's good passion to have, but a lot of people that are an employee for somebody else will eventually have that thought pattern of, do I really want to be an employee forever?
I think being it was a family business, you did to a degree feel like you're running your own. We were sales reps where obviously we had our own brands we looked after, and we had our own just stores that we called on and sold our products. So it was electrical retail. So, going to all your Harvey Norman stores and things like that. Yeah,
okay. Fair enough. So you would have got a bit of insight into what it's like running a business, I guess. Like you say, you took it on as if it was your own business.
Yeah, I think the back end I didn't have much to do with, but certainly the dealing with people and just, dealing with business owners, other business owners and things like that, the experience I got from that was second to none. Even standing up and, I used to give presentations. So, doing things like that, I learned very early on. I was horrible at it, but I've got better as I've gone.
I was just talking to somebody about that earlier today, about the whole different aspects of running a business. Now, if you're just doing residential lawns, you probably just turn up face-to-face conversation with somebody when they ask for a quote. Yes, no, go away, or turn back up to mow the lawn, and off you go again, right? But once you start quoting larger jobs, commercial contracts, or anything that's worth a few more dollars, you've got to start thinking about putting a presentation together, and whether that's a PowerPoint slideshow, whether it's a bit of drone footage and some video and different content that you put together to try and give people a good view of what you're offering them. It can grow from a face-to-face handshake type situation to boardrooms and a lot of people making a lot of money that you're trying to convince to spend a bit of that money with you.
Correct. It's totally. I just find I'm so intrigued about different parts of Australia, because WA, I just find it's a very, very competitive market, and you sort of got to think outside the box sometimes to try to get those bigger jobs. 100%.
Yeah. Now you're in Perth, I'm guessing.
Yep.
So Perth, by comparison to moving outside of Perth, would be massively different.
Yes, 100%. What you mean, just in WA or anywhere?
Well, in WA specifically, because I know on the East Coast here, talking to different contractors, if you're in a city or you're in a area where there's a new subdivision, various different places, you'll find that it's completely different moving from one spot to the next. And if you're in the city, then you're dealing with city traffic and city pricing and all the different things that go along with it, right? So the level of professionalism expected in a city is probably completely different to when you're out in the middle of rural nowhere.
Yeah, and I to be honest, I haven't spoken to many people rural, but in saying that, you only got about a 70-kilometre radius around Perth, which is classed as metro area.
Yeah.
So,
and it's one of the biggest cities in Australia. It's got a decent sized population.
I think, around the 2.5 million mark. I think
that sounds about right. I believe it was 2 to 3 mil in that sort of range.
Yeah.
I think there's only a couple of large cities in Australia that are under a mil now.
Yeah.
But like your capitals, Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, are all up in decent size. But I think Perth is comparable with Brisbane almost.
Yeah, I think you're right. And you don't. It's you can certainly consolidate your rounds a lot more here.
Yeah,
because you're not having to travel too far if you set it up right between jobs.
Yeah. So, that would make it very competitive, though, because everybody's willing to chase jobs in that region.
Yes, I've always had the impression, especially in this business, that there's so much work out there. There's just not enough contractors to cover it. And I think, obviously, being part of a franchise for so long, you get a feel of how much work doesn't get taken on by speaking with franchisors about, and I think gyms have the same thing. Obviously, I was with VIP, but I hear, they've got busier, obviously their leads aren't getting taken by their franchisees either. So there's obviously an abundance of work out there.
You've just dropped a couple of big bombs there. We need to come back around and analyse this a little bit closer. So we do know you were working as a gyms franchise. We wanted VIP, sorry. Yep, I'll get this right. Let's come back around. When you started your business, it was 11 years ago. Did you look at going independent before starting with the franchise, or was it?
I didn't. Obviously, I felt like my sales background was good, but I knew nothing about lawn mowing. So the reason I basically built a house, me and my brother built a house in 2012, and as soon as we built that house, I automatically got a passion for wanting to care for my front lawn. Just became addicted to it. Dad had a little cylinder, a little Scott Bonner mower. I'd constantly borrow it every week and just, learning how to upkeep lawn. I just really fell in love with it. And then I just thought, the reason I decided to go into lawn mowing, I actually looked at the time when some stuff happened in the family business, which I had to get out. I looked at running a kids sports franchise, teaching, the 3 to 6 year olds, they do little sporting classes before and after school. I think it was called Kids in Sport. And I was looking at that, and I got to the point where I nearly did it. And then I thought, nah, it's not for me. I've always played sports on weekends, and there was weekend work involved, and the hours, Tuesday, Thursdays where I have footy training or cricket training, just didn't, for my lifestyle at that time, only being 23, it just wasn't the right fit. So then I thought, just one day it just came to me. I said, I love mowing my own lawn. Why not try get paid to do other people's? Because if you treat someone else's lawn like I mow my own, I'm probably going to do all right.
Yeah. And this is an interesting thing, right? In Perth, most people that are interested in their lawn are going to have cylinder mowing.
Correct. Yeah, that's a whole nother topic again.
There are people that don't go for cylinder mowing in Perth, but a lot of people do. And then the other thing is it depends whereabouts in Perth you are as to how fanatical it is going to be, whether it's in a new subdivision where the whole place looks spectacular or whether it's in an older subdivision where it seems some of them, the roadside verge is not mine, so why would I care about it?
And I think it is over here. You're meant to maintain your own verge. Like, I've got council verge, which I maintain, but I know, and I'm not quite where some other guys are, but I speak to some guys, they don't even have a rotary mower. They do cylinder mowing only.
Yeah.
So it's totally different. You see, obviously, I see these guys on these contractor pages where they're in the eastern states and everyone's talking about rotaries and ride-ons, where we still use them here, but probably a third of what we use our cylinders.
Yeah, I've talked to one or two guys in Perth that are using ride-on cylinder mowers too. So
yeah, I haven't seen many, but yeah, I think they're around.
It comes down to people looking after sports fields, I think. But
that as well. If you've got those big tenders and things like that, that's where that'd come in handy.
Yeah, for sure.
So, but yeah, getting back. I decided I wanted to do a lawn mowing business, and I don't think it crossed my mind to do an independent business because I knew nothing about running a lawn mowing business. So the way I saw it is basically go to someone that knows how to set you up and do it properly, that you basically hopefully don't fail, I guess. I always had the opinion businesses don't fail, people fail. Yeah. So I thought, if I go into a proven system, and I met with gyms, I met with VIP, and it was just a personal choice to go with VIP. And I don't have any regrets from obviously getting into a franchise. I broke away 9 months ago. Yeah. Love my time with VIP and wouldn't hesitate telling anyone to get into a franchise.
Yeah. Now, I'm the same. I've not actually been in a franchise, but I have no hesitation in telling people that ask me. And franchise is a great way to start and gives you some guarantees, not necessarily a full guarantee, but gives you some guarantees of success. But it's interesting you say you didn't go with gyms, because I've found across Australia that West Australia and South Australia seem to not have as good a hold when it comes to the gyms franchise network.
I don't know much about gyms, and I don't like people go, because every time you go to a franchise, the first thing people say is, "Oh, you go to gyms." And
yeah, of course.
I know I'm VIP, but I know a few gym guys. I speak to them, and over the time you always ask questions about how their system works, how their franchise fee works and things like that, and it's quite interesting. But in the end, it's the same concept. But I just got a good vibe from VIP when I did it, and I think gyms is more, I found, because there's a lot more of them in Perth, I know. I got the impression it was more about getting more guys in smaller spaces, where VIP was a bit smaller franchise, where you'd get bigger areas that you'd basically have exclusive areas.
Yeah, okay.
So that was sort of one of the main points why I went with VIP, just the area size and the work that could possibly come through. I felt was greater.
Yeah, and I'd say that's probably an observation I've made about gyms as well, and I think it's correct mostly, but not completely, in the sense that they will sell a smaller area to a new franchise.
And this could be changed. This could have changed over the years. I don't know. At the time, it was basically a 1,000-house area. You got the exclusive rights to.
That's what I've heard too. So whether that's true or not, I'm sure.
Yeah,
I've got a bunch of gyms guys that listen to me, and one of them will reach out.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it is now, but I know, like with VIP, I got a whole suburb.
Yeah,
I had the exclusive rights to that suburb. So that was just appealing to me, and also, I felt like the training I got buddied up with a franchisee, and which is great for me. I still actually only spoke to him this morning. He's probably what I put down to why I probably have the business I do today, because he'd been doing it for 5 or 6 years. He was younger than me, but I basically just emulated his business for the first few years, because I'm like, if you're successful and you're doing it, why change something? Just copy what you're doing, and then once I've established myself and know what I'm doing, make little tweaks to improve it.
And when we get to our next segment, I want to spend a lot of time talking about what those systems were and what you were doing that made it so successful.
Yep.
So that's something I like to spend a lot more time on, so that people listening to the podcast get some good insights.
Cool.
Yeah. Efficiency is the thing that rules a business and the decisions you make as a small business owner. Right Mowers give you the options in their product lineup to match efficiency with size, fuel usage, and the type of jobs you want to target, from catching to mulching or side discharge, from roadside verges to acreages, and manicured lawns to 6 feet tall and super long. I've been using the Right Stander I 42-inch with a Catch Pro for manicured areas and the Stander ZK61 to maximise productivity for large open acreage mowing. If you need to replace your push mower, try the 32-inch Stander B. If you have more open access to residential properties, there's a 42 through 48-inch option that suits you. And if you want to enter the acreage market, the 52, 61 and 72-inch machines have choices in engine size and model type to suit the work you want it to do. Right Standards go the distance, saving you time and money season after season. So you've been in business for 11 years.
Yep.
You'll find me just keeping on going around in circles all
That's
the time.
right.
Trying to break it down and give people more insight. Right.
If I'm lying, no, 10.
No, definitely not. I've had one episode I did recently, the Jim Guillaume one. I've had people reaching out and trying to call him out because some of the things he said, they're like, that doesn't make sense. And I'm like, actually, go back and listen again or reach out to him directly. There's a logical explanation there. But
Fair enough.
Anyway, so yeah, when in that 11 years, you started straight up with VIP.
Yep.
What does that look like compared to Jim's? They give you a recommendation on the type of trailer you buy, where you buy it from, the equipment you buy?
They don't have any recommendation on trailer. There's obviously personal choice.
Okay.
What gear you get, they don't really force anything on you. So I basically was guided by the franchisee training me on what he recommends I should get. And I basically, because I knew nothing, I just listened to him and said, you think I need that? I'll get that.
Yeah, okay.
So I just basically did that. I had a trailer built from scratch. So once again, I basically designed because his trailer was awesome. I loved it. I said, I don't want something quite as big as yours, but he said, think in advance. You're only just starting, but in 4 or 5 years' time, and you want to get a ride on or something, think now, build a trailer now that you're going to be able to put everything on it. Yeah. So that was a really good piece of advice because I did 4 years down the track, I got a ride on, maybe less.
Yeah.
So, I'd basically built my own trailer. Bought most stuff I bought to start with. I bought secondhand gear.
Yeah.
Things like snippers and that. I bought new, but cylinder mower I found secondhand. Edger found secondhand. Bought a brand new rotary and snippers and blowers and things like that. All the smaller cost things.
Yeah. Okay.
And then just upgraded over the years as I grew.
Very good. So when you started, so the franchisee that helped you get started, you've taken his lead on everything. I'm guessing at the very start you would have decided that cylinder mowing was an important aspect of what you do.
100%, yep.
And so did you start out with just a cylinder mower or did you start out with a cylinder and a rotary?
Cylinder and rotary.
Yeah, okay.
So I find, especially some of the areas I work in, a lot of big gum trees, there's honky nuts, there's, little things that you just wouldn't put a cylinder mower on.
Yeah, of course.
So I just learned that. But certainly rotary still needed if you got some overgrown jobs, which, when you first start, you just take on anything. There's certain lawns you just wouldn't put a cylinder on.
Yep. And were you starting, you said that they gave you a suburb in Perth, so you started in that suburb getting all your leads from there. Did you have in mind that you could branch out of that suburb, even though that you've only got exclusivity in that?
Yeah, I think it's not a thing where you can work, you're allowed to work wherever you want. You basically just can't do your own local area marketing outside your area.
Yeah, okay.
So why I hadn't one exclusive suburb, I also had 5 or 6 because like I said, VIP is not quite as big. I had guaranteed work from 5 or 6 other suburbs before other franchisees got access to it.
Yeah.
And I positioned myself in one of the high-end suburbs of Perth first.
Okay.
Because I thought, people with money, probably time poor, you're not going to have issue with payments. You can probably charge a bit more. And that was my mindset from the start.
Now, I've found when I travel, because I've been to Perth for podcasts and I've been a few different places, but in traveling, I have no idea what is what. And I flew over to Perth and rented an Airbnb in a suburb that I found out had the highest crime rate in Perth.
what's that called?
Oh, look, I can't even remember. It's probably a good thing not to say it. But, afterwards, I was like, oh, there's clearly, within 5 minutes travel, there's some really high-end suburbs and really bad suburbs. So you
But you're
went
saying that in those bad suburbs, there's good pockets of customers.
for sure. And the place where I stayed was beautiful. I wasn't worried about crime at the place that I stayed at, but I think there was a shooting in that suburb the week before I got there.
Must have got cheap accommodation.
Must. But yeah, I mean, there was an Airbnb for starters, so it wasn't a high-end hotel.
Yeah, but no, you don't. You don't need to drive far in Perth to go from one side to the other almost.
Yeah,
so
for sure. So whereabouts in Perth did you start your business?
So yeah, I had the suburb called Extramantle. So basically, right near the ocean, right on the river, on the Swan River. Big multi-million-dollar houses. Scattered all through the suburb.
Beautiful.
So, and then you've got a lot of adjoining suburbs. I find Extramantle's like you got two suburbs that join to it, which is basically just one big suburb, but they're just broken down into three suburbs.
Yep.
So
fair enough.
It's a very nice area. I can't afford to live there, but it's very nice.
It's funny that, isn't it? It's like, there's so many places you can't afford to live, but they're quite happy for you to be working there and lots of work to do.
Yeah. And I'm 25, 30 minutes from there. So, I'm on probably at the end of the scale as far I'd want to travel.
Yeah.
But, if you're making 20, 30 bucks more a job, then it's worth it.
Yeah, for sure. So to start with, you would have been targeting purely residential work. Like you say, you'd take whatever you could get, but you would have been targeting residential work in that suburb predominantly.
Yeah, there's not a huge commercial area around that way. So, I think when you first start, you don't really know the difference. You don't know what residential or commercial is. Once you get into it, of it, and you're like, yes, the commercial job is what I want. They're the better paying jobs. They're a lot easier just to maintain and take over them. So
that's true, but also a lot of commercial work, I can imagine Perth would be true. A lot of the commercial work wouldn't involve using a cylinder mower too. So the residential work, you might have higher end lawns.
Yep.
Even if the higher end pay's not there.
Well, it's funny. Like a lot of the commercial work I have, the actual you pick up. I found I picked up a lot from mowing the owner's house.
Yeah, okay.
So they'll be like, "Oh, can you mow my house?" And now, can you do my commercial property and charge my house to my commercial property, which I don't have an issue doing. But because they care so much about their home lawn, they want their business lawn to look the same. So I do a lot of, and some of these commercial jobs, when you say commercial, that they might only be 70 or 80 square meters, like when you're mowing a lawn. So they're still classed as commercial jobs because they're in commercial areas.
Yeah.
There aren't many in the city. There's not really any, acreage properties that you're maintaining and things like that.
Yeah, and I guess it depends what type of commercial it is too. Like if it's retail, they probably want presentation to be spot on, but if it's industrial commercial, it would be different.
Yep. And I've got a commercial property I've had for 10 years, which we just verti mowed 500 square meters on Friday.
Yeah, that's a decent size verti mow. It's a bit of work involved in that.
Yeah, it took us. We had a team of us there. We knocked it out, and you start there and finish there, so it's not a bad thing. It's a pub.
Yeah, nice. So, we should come back to talking about some of those sorts of jobs more because I've been interested in how that would look on the East Coast. There's not a lot of people that do full lawn renos on the East Coast. There are where it's popular, but there's a lot of places on the East Coast where there is enough rainfall and the soil is fertile enough that you don't need irrigation, or you might only know that by the word reticulation.
Yeah, it freaks me out that you guys don't have it.
So a lot of places you just simply don't need irrigation and you don't need to fertilise because you've got enough rain and enough fertile soil that you don't need to worry about it. And it's only once every now and then that things dry out.
Yeah, no, it blows my mind. I think it's such a big thing over here, and even you break sprinklers and things like that, and if you don't fix them, the lawns just dry out so quickly.
Yeah, it's insane.
So, I still can't fathom customers not having retic.
Yeah. So over the 11 years you've been in business,
Mm.
you would have started on your own, and what did it take you a few months or 12 months to fill your schedule up? Or
Yeah, so the first I didn't want to buy any business when I first started. I basically I had that because back then I was with my wife. Now we were together, but we didn't have kids, and it's not as financially tough when you start having kids. But I basically wanted to build my rapport with my customers from the start. So I didn't want to take on anyone else's problems. I just saw it as that when I first did it. So
yeah,
I spent the first 12 months working in a local pub in a bottle shop part-time and did both. BIP were good until I hit a certain amount of turnover. They didn't charge me a franchise fee.
oh, nice.
So they didn't want to say, well, we're going to charge you $700 a month, but if you're not doing $700 a week in turnover, we're not going to, so we'll do that. So
Yeah, okay.
so I was slowly building it through work coming through VIP and being out on the road and just naturally. And I think after 12 months, I think I had maybe 50 clients. So I think within 10 months, I gave up that job because I had enough turnover to concentrate on it full time.
Yeah, okay.
And then it just grew from there.
So 10 months to make sure the business was providing enough work for you.
Yep.
And then in the next 10 years after that,
Yeah,
how much have you
it took
grown?
me. I knew from the start. One day I wanted to get staff. I knew that from the get go because like I said, Andrew that had trained me from VIP, he had 3 or 4 guys working for him. I saw it as a benefit, and I was like, one day I want to get there, and one day I think I'm someone that I always think I'm an impulse person. I've been told I actually plan things ahead and then I just action them when I need to. So I was like, that's a better thing than saying impulse. So I knew one day I wanted staff, but I think it took me probably 6 years, maybe 6.5, to actually then get my first staff member.
Okay, yeah.
So I literally grew my business it took me 5 years to almost max it out, where I had like 2 or 3 straight years in a row where the income was the same.
Yeah.
So it wasn't growing, wasn't going backwards. I just couldn't take on any more work because, as you know, like in summer you're maxed out, then winter you got more time, but you're trying to find work, which you don't find as much of it.
Yeah.
So I just knew then I was like, either I be happy where I'm at, or now's the time I get staff in.
Yeah,
and it's a whole different kettle of fish.
It certainly is, isn't it?
Yes.
So did you change that overnight to putting on staff, going from just you to putting on 2 or 3 staff?
Well, the thing I did, I think people say never employ family, which is what I did the first staff member I ever had. And it just, went pear-shaped and didn't work out. And I didn't have enough for a full-time staff member. So, I employed a cousin who wasn't working at the time. I think he was just sort of doing 20 hours a week, which it was good for a while. I think it lasted about 9-10 months, and then just sort of ended in bad terms, unfortunately. He ended up leaving me for another mate with another lawn mowing business.
Oh wow, yeah.
So which was offering him more hours and things like that. So that was the first learning curve, which I think I already knew the term "don't employ staff." Don't employ family.
Yeah,
but that was, I find experiences like that are good because you learn from them.
Yeah. Well, I think it's interesting saying don't employ family and don't employ friends. Right? But I've heard people argue very strongly either way on that, in terms of people that are running large, successful businesses. They've said exhaust everybody you know before you go advertising for staff from people you don't know.
Yeah, there's merit to it, and I think it can work, but it also, at the opposite, if it goes pear-shaped, then it's horrible. With family gatherings and things like that, it can, it's there's a life outside of the business that you still got to deal with as well.
Yeah, and I think it does come down to how you do things and whether you can separate work life from family life and keep it at a level where it works well. Or
but in saying that, I'm 4 or 5 years in now, with a decent team of staff. I would look one day employing staffing, but as a first staff member, it probably was the wrong decision looking back. But it served a purpose, and it's, like I said, you learn from your mistakes and you move on.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Okay. So now you're at the stage where you have several staff on. How many is it?
So I currently have 3 full-timers and a part-timer.
Yeah.
And I have a fifth one starting in about 3 weeks. And I've also gone down. I also have an admin person as well now.
Yeah, okay. So you're starting to deal with the inevitable of having staff on that are not making money.
Well, that's partly, I'm sort of like that as well now because I'm not on the tools as much anymore.
Yeah. And I think that is the killer, going from the obvious. When somebody starts a business, they have no idea about how to run a business. So most people that fail in the first 2 to 5 years, then they weren't actually running a business. All they were doing was being self-employed.
Yeah.
But at the stage you're at and the stage I'm at, it comes down to going, well, can you grow the business successfully and deal with those things, those aspects of the business that are not producing money? Can you do that successfully and keep growing the business? Or do you pull back and go, well, this is just lifestyle and we'll keep it small so that the lifestyle stays the same?
And it's an interesting one because I think only up until probably 6-7 months ago, I was on the tools full time. So I've really, the last 6 months, focused on getting my team right. So it's allowed me, and I found that not being on the tools as much actually has allowed me to grow the business more.
Yeah.
Because even being on the tools full time, even with 2 or 3 staff, you're still drawn away from maybe quoting those extra jobs because you think the business is too busy.
Yeah.
So it's a even 11 years in, I still learn every week, every day.
Yeah. But see, when you start your business, if you have a mower breakdown, you go to the mower shop and you buy a belt or a spark plug or take the mower in there and get it serviced, whatever it is, that time that you've spent chasing that, most people don't actually sit there and go, oh, that's a business thing. That's just me. I'm the owner of the business. I've just got to suck up and deal with it. Whereas when you get to the size you're at, you start going, well, I've got to pay somebody to do the admin, to send the invoices out, to chase the late payments. So I've got to pay somebody to do the maintenance on the machinery, or unless I'm doing it all.
Which I do, yeah.
Sooner or later, all those jobs have to be handed off to somebody else so that you can be the pilot. You can be the master of the ship.
Yeah, I basically got to a point now where I've got the team right, where for now, where we are now, but I'd said this spring is just going crazy. But rather than relying on staff to fill the void, if you're short-staffed, I've become that staff member. So, if we've got too much work, I can actually pick up the slack or jump in. If someone's on sick or on holidays, I can jump in rather than relying on a casual and trying to call them up saying, oh, can you do this day or can you do tomorrow? Someone can't come in.
Yeah.
So I've shaped it and it's working at the moment, but things can change very quickly.
For sure. And that, I think, is largely dependent on you because you're the one filling in the gaps.
Yep. And all those jobs, like for years, I was knocking back so much work, and then it just hits you one day, you go, why am I knocking back so much work when you can actually put people in the right places to take it on?
Yeah. But there's a few people I've interviewed that are going through the process like you are, and Matthew Wanmaker's one of those people. He's in Victoria.
Yep.
And I saw him not recently, but probably in the last 12 months, he was starting to look at putting on somebody to manage the day-to-day business.
Yep.
So not just an admin person, but somebody to actually manage all of those extra bits and pieces to make sure that's taken care of. So he can focus on...
the admin's been like, it's just, you don't realise how good it is until someone else does it for you. Like just the little things, like even since getting away from the franchise and starting my own brand, like we've set up, I've got a personal email in the business, but we've set up an admin email. So all the inquiries go through to Mel.
Yeah.
And she basically, rather than getting home to 20 emails, she siphons through and actions all the stuff and just sends me the stuff I got to action. So I've generally only got 3 or 4 emails a day to go through. And, the little things about like, just little questions that as a business owner, I don't really need to be like, it's just time wasting, but it's essential in the business. They have to be answered. Yeah. But it's such a good feeling having, someone that can do it, that just takes. So I reckon if you, as a business owner, if we crunched hours and what we're earning, we're probably earning less an hour than some of our employees. You just don't look at your hours as an owner of a business. You just do it.
Look, I've talked about this on my podcast numerous times, but when I first started and I was charging out at $50 an hour roughly as a guide, And I did the maths when I put on an employee, and I was like, okay, I'm paying him $20 an hour. This is 14 years ago, by the way. Paying him $20 an hour and paying out the other expenses, and I'm not making money for the hours that he's working because I've got those non-billable hours of sending the invoices, fixing the equipment, going to the mower shop and getting the fuel and all those extra bits and pieces. And when you look at it and you go, well, if I divide the profit by the amount of hours I actually do and just call that profit my wage, it's pretty poor.
Yeah, it does. And, I used to do all that, probably like a lot of people do. I'd do that stuff after, maybe doing 8 hours of mowing or doing it on the weekends or, going to the shed at 5:30 in the morning and doing an hour before I go out, and now I've just got the systems that I put in place to allow me to do it. Like, I can spend half a day Monday doing it all.
Yeah, nice.
Which is, like I said, I never take any for granted anymore because I know how quickly things can change. But, it's just a matter of hoping you put your systems in place and back your judgment and it all works out.
Thank you for listening to Aussie Lawn Stars. Please remember to rate and review the show on the Apple Podcasts app or the player you use. Exciting new shows are released every Monday. Make sure you follow or subscribe to hear the next episode.
Welcome to Aussie Lawn Stars. Do you want to leave your job to create a profitable and enjoyable lawn and garden business? Aussie Lawn Stars shares the stories, lessons and advice to help you grow a healthy, productive, efficient and sustainable business. Do you want more or simply have a question about what you heard? Contact Aussie Lawn Stars at iCloud.com or look me up, Gary Ashton, on Facebook and Messenger for individual help. Business coaching helps you to have the right mindset and perspective when it comes to daily decision-making, planning, or knowing what to look for to improve your business. thinktankcoaching.com.au has helped me, and they can help you move towards your business goals. Visit their website or email them, thinktankcoaching@outlook.com. If you want to establish the best practices in bookkeeping, accounting, and business structure, contact Adrian from Prosper Financial on 0249 773363. And you all need to head to Lawn Mowing Contractors Australia and the Australian Professional Lawn Contractors Facebook groups for supportive communities focused on our industry.